أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I noticed that there are some young ears in the audience, so I'm going to try and cater my speech for that. I've been a Muslim for 2.5 years, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster. It may come across as cliche, but it has had some major ups and downs. The difficult part for me at present is that from my family, my blood relatives, my wife and my in-laws, I'm the only Muslim. May Allah make a way for them. It is difficult to be firm upon your faith while also making the time for da'wah and then also learning parts of your religion is what I used to think. Now I'm of the understanding that if you have a firm righteous intention, and you pray sincerely for the help of Allah, what stops that dua from becoming a reality? My journey when I was born, I was born as a Catholic. I went to a Jesuit school, and in my teen years, I separated from, Roman Catholicism and became more of a Christian. Didn't learn much from the Bible, maybe because of my circumstances or my environment, but the tenets of the faith seemed pretty easy. You need only believe in Jesus as being your Lord and Savior. You will sin, you ask for forgiveness, and that's it. You can celebrate every holiday, you love everyone, you love whatever they do, and essentially Jazakallah khair. And essentially that's it. Your faith is almost put up on the shoulders of another person who has apparently died for your sins, and life is very easy. There isn't much you can't do in Christianity. So let me go a little further back so you can understand where I came to understand the truth about the life of this world. My mother died when I was 6 years old. A death at a young age for anyone, it seems to have an effect where people grow up a lot faster. I found that my father, having to then look after 3 children, was thrust into a huge amount of responsibility, of which he tried to teach us as much as possible. And I'm very happy to say that he is, I assume from what I can see from him, he is healthy and his children have grown up to be successful. Again, I find that the way that I grew up really was the catalyst in terms of me wanting to find the truth. I found myself as I was growing up, like in almost a secular sort of society, going to college, no real attachment to my faith, but, make the sign of the cross once or twice, go to church in congregation once a week. There isn't much else to do. I had a hardship while I was in college around that time, and I came to unfortunately come to a position where I was very depressed, losing my faith, what little faith there was, and looking for ways to drown my sorrows and to find a sort of release from the stress and anger that I had been building up for several months. I moved to a different part of the country, and I lived in the south of England for 3 years, at which point there was no faith. I had amassed a debt which seemed at the time impossible to clear, with the amount of interest that was building up over time. Unfortunately, you find yourself getting involved with the wrong people. And almost commonplace with that is substance misuse. During the 3-year period that I was in the south of England, I tried to find ways of moving forward from my problems that I'd run away from, essentially. And there was no real help. Again, the substances would last for an amount of time, but they were never an actual fix for the problem. I couldn't quite understand what we were here for, what I was here for. Constantly thinking back to my childhood, that my mother lived and then she died before I really got to know her. Is that what this life is about? We grow, we have attachments with people, we grow to love people, and then that's it. During my time, the 3 years I spent in the south of England, I met people of different faiths, people of different beliefs, and again, nothing really stimulated me. You know, I had no faith because why should I? People that subscribe to the same faith as me are able to hurt me in a way that is immeasurable, and then can go about their daily lives as if nothing has happened. But don't worry, you put it on Jesus and everything is fine. It wasn't good enough for me. Someone had said in a passing comment, you know, Jesus is in Islam. And I laughed it off. I said, yeah, that's good to know. I wasn't interested at the time. But I spent many nights alone contemplating and thinking to myself, surely there has to be something more to life than this. I go to work, I earn money, I pay the bills, I pay the debts, I come home to no one. I realized that I couldn't face a problem, or I couldn't face trying to work out the intricacies of life. So in the meantime, I thought I'll just clear my debts and worry about all of these things afterwards. I worked in different areas and with different people, and I met someone in one of the universities. And to this day, I always remember him in a little corner in the changing room area. He would pull out his prayer mat and he would pray. It's insignificant, except for the fact that it was interesting to see. I've never seen anything like that before, face to face. Some time passed and he showed me a clip on YouTube. It was a surah being recited about the bee and the healing that it has from its belly. The surprising part of that was that he was crying while it was being recited. So I knew that whatever was being said, it's something powerful for him, not for me. He said, I want you to go away with something. He sent me a link from a man I didn't know at the time called Mufti Menk. It was the lessons of the stories of the prophets, approximately 30 episodes. I said I'd watch it, but yeah, I didn't think there was any time to sit down and watch 30 episodes. Besides, I already know about religion. It's for people that want to believe in something that isn't quite real. So at a stage when the opportunity the opportunity arose for me to go to another country with a few friends. I took it. I realized that I couldn't stay in Brighton. This is the south of England, the place I was living. I couldn't stay there, and nor was London any more inviting. I couldn't keep running from the same problems that I was facing. I'd gone through all the help that I could, walking into a police station and asking, hey, I'm in need of some help. I've called the Samaritans a few times and I don't know quite what to do at the moment. I don't know whether I'm depressed or whether I'm just going through an episode, but I need some help. Going from psychiatrist to mental institution, being prescribed drugs to help, which didn't. I can say it was difficult with the normal positive outlook that I have on life. It was difficult to see a way out. I traveled abroad with the friends that I mentioned earlier, and I went even deeper into the negative things that I got myself involved in England. Substance abuse became a normality there. Drinking, gambling, and other items just seemed like the topic of the day. And it was fun to the extent that you kind of had to keep doing it in order for it not to appear as wrong as it actually is in reality. You know, act quick, think less. But it came to a point where I started to realize a few things that I'd have to face up to. I was a hypocrite. I'll give you one example. A conversation came up around women and some of the jobs that women would do, which aren't, by any stretch of the imagination, good jobs. And I was asked, would you allow your daughter to do something like this? And I said, no, never allow my daughter to do something like that in front of other men, in front of other people. But it made me a hypocrite because I would be the same person that would go and do those things. I realized that it took a lot of effort to think, morally about what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing outside of faith, because essentially faith is the thing that dictates what the morals are. And to be a person of no faith, but to be a person with all of these morals, it just seemed really difficult. One of the nights, I decided to have a look at this video, Lessons of the Stories of the Prophets. It sounded cool. I watched 1 or 2 episodes with a friend, and something was said that changed the whole balance of everything that was going on in my little bubble. It was regarding Adam, alayhi salam, and Shaitan, Iblis. It was the aspect where Iblis would knock on the form of Adam and would question himself as to why there is a new creation being made by Allah. And then the statement was said, he started blaming Adam. And it was an eye-opener for me, because I realized that all of my problems I had palmed off and accused and blamed other people for them. I'm not responsible for the position I'm in. It's because of this person and that person. It's what I did. And it's what Iblis did. Again, at this point, I'm not a Muslim at all. But I could see the truth when it was presented in front of me. Shortly after this time, I realized that I couldn't continue with the lifestyle that I'd been going about. Money doesn't last very long, and the happiness, again, it fluctuates very quickly. It isn't sustainable. So at one period I said, I'm going to watch all of these episodes. So I closed myself away from everyone for approximately 3 or 4 days, and I watched every single episode of that series. I cannot tell you with words properly how I felt after I'd finished watching, except for me saying it was almost like the penny had finally dropped. Everything was clear in terms of what this life was about, what this whole existence, individually and as a collective, was about. I began to understand things that were nuanced, stuff I'd picked up from my life, And I began to see why I was in the position that I was in. Every single prophet had a wonderful story. And the minimum you can take is at least one lesson, bare minimum. But the beauty of the whole thing for me was its consistency. And the fact that every single prophet, the ones that are named, the ones that are not named, has come with the same message for everybody, entirety of mankind. It kind of dispelled the myth or the equation that I was trying to build up in my head, thinking, if, Jesus, the majority of the people of faith believe in Jesus being the Son of God, part of a Trinity, whatever. If he was in one part of the world, what was to happen with the people on the other side of the world that had never heard of him? If they had died, what happens to them if they die? Is there a judgment for them? Are there different rules for them? Islam gave me the information about everything I had questioned up until that point. And coming from a Catholic and Christian background, when it got to the episode of Jesus, I was very excited. I was like, yes, now I'm going to find out what the truth is about Jesus. I will be honest, it left me wanting because there wasn't much. There wasn't as much as I'd wanted. But I think that itself was part of the blessing because I wanted to know more. I believe that, yes, he was a man who was sent to the people, his people, to give a message. And a lot of it is the stuff that he himself, or according to the book, the Red Letter Bible, it's the stuff that he has said himself. But nowhere has he told the people to worship him. It's weird because you go to the places of faith for the Christians and the Catholics and they skate around this stuff. They skate around all of this stuff and tell you the recurring stuff that people like to hear, but they don't address the core issues. They don't arm the people in their congregation with information based on their scriptures. A small example would be to ask, I'm not saying go to ask, but to ask a Christian or a Catholic regarding Christmas and its history and its attachment to their religion. Many of them wouldn't know. I didn't. But because of the actual nature of what I'd learned and what was apparently Islam to me at that time, I had to do more research because it was almost bothering me. It had crept under my skin and now I could feel like I could feel like there was a meaning to every positive thing that I learn. There's a necessity for me to go out and search for this knowledge. After having understood why gambling is wrong, after having understood where the whole premise or idea behind women doing certain things for the attention of men, it was almost like somebody had given me a cheat sheet of how to navigate through life, because at that point I'd pretty much done everything. I spent 6 months researching about the prayer, about the fasting, about why anyone does anything and where the proof is in the scripture. I didn't go to any imams, I didn't go to anyone within the Muslim faith because I thought, nah, I don't want to talk to anyone. I want to know the truth for myself. I've been tricked before, not again. But you do need people of knowledge to tell you things that you didn't know. So I typed in on YouTube, who is Jesus in Islam? And Sheikh Ahmed Didat came up. There were a few videos that I saw immediately and I started watching. And I watched one after the other after the other. His eloquence was second to none. His knowledge of the Bible and the Quran, it was, at his time, I don't think there was no one like that could give you that much information. And although they're coming from an Islamic point of view, they could quote from the Bible as if they had memorized the whole thing. And I realized that as a Christian or Catholic, there was a lot about the Bible I hadn't really paid much attention to. I didn't know anything or even half of what I thought I knew. The amount of teachings that are actually close to Islam. So that would make somebody wonder, well, why didn't you just stay a Christian then? Obviously, it's easier, and now you know a little bit more. I challenged myself to read the entirety of the Quran so that I could know for sure if this is something that I can believe in. Surah after surah, I was hooked. The stories about these prophets that I've never known, never heard of, the difficulties that they went through, the help that Allah has given them. It's just amazing. And it isn't just a story to make you feel good and then to just forget about it afterwards. It's a story which has certain things that address items, issues, problems that we all go through at one point or another. It came to a stage where I realized I'm not in a position now, with the amount of knowledge that I have come to understand, I'm not in a position to just allow this to go out of the window. This is the truth for me. So on the 1st of July 2015, I converted to Islam. And I realized that there were a few things that I had to do immediately, of which giving up a lot of the things that I was doing, and they were all easy, to be honest, because I had learned how they affect people negatively. I felt free knowing that I had to then change certain things and avoid certain things. Some people will almost go out of their way to tell you how difficult and constricting Islam is, but actually it's quite the opposite. Man needs boundaries. And when you live a life where there are no boundaries, you have enough money to do anything you want, everything loses its meaning and its worth and its value. You can do everything, so what's the point? Once I accepted Islam, I realized I'm in a new country. I don't have any issues with my family. I'm having to explain to them anything. It was just me and Allah. I found myself trying to learn the mechanics of the prayer. And I did make mistakes according to what I've learned now. I can see that. But I realized how fruitful my life became afterwards. One of the things that I struggled to comprehend was the fasting for several hours of a day, to not eat. It didn't seem like something I wanted to engage in myself. But I said I would try it. I've done harder things in life, so let me try. And the first day was difficult. And then I tried to do it more often. To the extent when I found out about Ramadan and the fact that the Prophet ﷺ would fast the month before Ramadan, I thought, oh man, 60 days of fasting, seriously. But I wanted to try it. You know, there's not many people that are fasting Shaban, so let me see. I'm new, so if I do it wrong now, it's okay. I still have a month or less than a month to try and improve. So I fasted for those 30 days, or however long the period was at that time. And I'm sure you can tell by the expression on my face, it was something. To the extent where you would stop yourself from eating and drinking for a significant part of the day, whether you're working or not, for the pleasure of Allah. It's an interesting concept. But it wasn't until after I had completed it that I realized Islam is more than just a religion that is based on the physical acts of worship and going out and seeking knowledge and giving, da'wah to people. It encompasses everything. It's holistic. I've never eaten less in my entire life, except for that first month that I decided to fast the whole of it. And I tell you, I felt healthier afterwards, which came as a surprise to me. So I realized that making sure that I learned more about the religion and learned how I'm supposed to do things was imperative for the well-being of myself. I began to pray 5 times a day, and it got to the stage where I was eager for the next one because, it's almost like a challenge. The people that can go out, earn their money, but during that time, they make time for Allah. It's a whole new concept for me. What I will say is, when I was there, I was around some wonderful brothers who were Muslims working in the same building as myself. In the age old, oh my goodness, you're going to be raised really high because you've come to Islam, you chose it of your own accord. It's a nice sentiment. But what was better than that was they would teach me and they would encourage me to do things. And they would say, hey, have you recited this after Isha? Or have you done this before Fajr? That was the real benefit that I was feeling from knowing these brothers. And we would fast together and break fast together. In the khutbah this afternoon, it was mentioned that your Islam is not just the words, but it's the action. The action dictate whatever your belief is. And I loved every aspect of it. The little things that help me to understand how I deal with other people of, different gender, different belief, even belief in, for example, for people that even believed in the highest being Shaitan, for example, how to integrate with them and how to be around them. It taught me all of these things that I knew nothing about. And when I can say, after 2.5 years, I can tell you that the environment that we are in and that we allow our children to be in is very important in how their iman grows. I came back to England at the end of June this year. And wow, it's been 6 years since I've lived in London. And wow, it was tricky. I'm not just talking Oyster card prices and stuff like this. I'm talking it was difficult to find the time and to negotiate with your employers how to do this. And it was just, I never realized it could be so difficult when it was so easy somewhere else. And then I realized after, again, continuing to read and to learn that Allah puts you in positions of difficulty if He wishes to raise you. If He wishes to raise your status, it's part of the test. The test has been difficult, according to me, up until recently. And then I realized that actually, no, this isn't difficult. I can't be burdened more than I can handle. That is something from Allah. So to know that I may be finding something difficult, that's as far as it will go. It will never overcome me. Another thing that I learned during my time of researching is that where there is any good, you'll find that there will be people, a group, a collective that will go against it. Whether they have to make up some sort of lie, whether they have to cause issues between a community, this is what happens. Coming back to London, I've seen a lot of that. And what I've come to, again, understand is that your level of understanding and knowledge of Islam is not just key in terms of, winning a debate with this person or that person. It goes beyond that to the extent that there are people outside looking for ways to improve their lives, looking for a way out. Because I was one of those people. If it wasn't for those few sentences from someone, Jesus is in Islam. If it wasn't for those little things, who knows? Allahu Alam. So for us here as Muslims in the masjid and in the community at large, it is very key for us to be outstanding, upright members of the community, secular, non-secular, whatever, because people will see you for what you do. And if they come to know that this is what the person is like, and then they find out about the religion that you subscribe to, this is sometimes the link that people need. They've heard so many terrible things about Islam in the news, the media. But sometimes it just takes the actions of a single Muslim to show one person or a group of people what Islam is really about. I wish that I had members of my family that could push me in terms of learning more Quran or learning Arabic. But I realized that Allah has put me in this position for a reason. It may not be a reason that is apparent right now, but He has left me able-bodied, sound mind and ability, time to learn. One of the biggest things for me recently, and I said that I have to do this before the end of the year. Before it's become 2.5 years as a Muslim, I at least have to learn the last 20 surahs of the Quran. Alhamdulillah, I learned them off by heart. Whether I know all of the meanings, may Allah make time for me to understand. But the beauty of reading from Arabic and also reading the meanings behind it, which I understand, there's nothing like it. I want to make sure that I don't go on for too long, so I'll close with this. My journey to Islam was approximately 25 years growing up as something totally different. There are people that are younger than me and much older than me that are accepting Islam on a daily basis. The world's fastest growing religion. But part of that is what we are doing as a community, as a collective. I'm glad that this facility is here, because when I came to Grove Park, I thought to myself, right, now I've got to find myself a masjid. Alhamdulillah, I've found brothers and sisters that are here, that are on the path. May Allah make ease for us in our affairs and help us in terms of giving da'wah, even if it is a small verse, to people who don't know anything about Islam. Jazakallah khair, brothers, I appreciate it. And sisters, assalamu alaikum.